Hey everybody, welcome back to Havoc Maker Studio. My name is John and I am your host. So still working on a couple new set features here at the temporary studio. We're about 6-7 months away from moving to a whole new location, pretty much the end of the year. But the changes to the backdrop and some editing stuff that's going to be happening, that will be coming later on this month, probably closer to June, just in time for the release of Shatterpoint and eventually Warhammer 40,000 right around the corner. So speaking of Warhammer 40,000, I know that I've got a track record for being persnickety when it comes to Games Workshop, but I still can appreciate the quality of their product and their overall miniature designs for the most part. Sometimes they get a little derpy or it's a lot of cut and paste. It's kind of hard to not run into that sort of feature when you're doing a large scale battle game, right? This isn't just a skirmish level. This is more of a large open warfare. So you kind of start to get a little cut and paste happy going on there. Now, other smaller games, like say, let's take a look at Spectre Operations. They have, well, depending on where you get the miniatures from, like from Turn-Based Miniatures, which I highly recommend you find a turn-based miniature seller on Etsy. I'll do another video covering that and probably go to Resin Minatorum or Modest Mini Studio. Probably Modest Mini Studio. That's where I've gotten best sculpts, prints. Anyways, they can afford to have a lot more unique individualistic models. Other game systems out there, even though it's a board game, we have Apex Legends coming out, or at least the Kickstarter. Later this September, we have the Monster Hunter International skirmish game that's going to drop. So with these games, you can get a lot more specific looking models, more detailed, individualistic. And I've gone off topic. The point is, I know I've been persnickety about a lot of their stuff, a lot of their practices, but they do still make the best models, I would say. Or I would say they're one of the best model making companies in the world, and they do sell their stuff globally for a profit. Their game design needs a lot of work. In fact, they should just really kind of throw off that old system that they just kind of keep tweaking here and there. I mean, you've had 10 editions now. Just cast it out and come up with something entirely new. It's time. You need to get updated. So, but once again, I got sidetracked. So we know that we just had Warhammer Fest over the weekend, right? And that's where they revealed Leviathan. That's the 10th edition box. And we also saw the release of a variety of other models and boxes and stuff coming out for the various specialist games and their other flagship system, Age of Sigmar. So what we also have not seen them at least post here on their Warhammer community site are some little, we'll call them, I don't want to call them leaks. They're more like sneak peeks that you only got if you were there at the event. So far they've done a very good job of just kind of throwing out some wonderful, tantalizing rules updates, and it's really been more focused on the different units and obviously the main focus, which is the combat. But they've been leaking a little bit some of the more generalized rules, like what is devastating or lethal mean for weapons, and how do you roll or just the weapon upgrades. We'll just leave it at that. So a couple of them that might have been popping up here and there, some people have been talking about. We're going to cover 5 today as we just kind of scroll through here. There are other things that have dropped, and we will cover that in another video. Maybe one more today, and then a couple will pop up tomorrow. A couple short ones that'll cover Space Marines and the Tyranids. A lot has dropped, and I know a lot of people just don't have time to read, especially if you get home from work and you just like, I've got to paint. I don't have time to read. I want to paint my miniatures, or I want to build miniatures, or whatever it is that you're working on. You don't have time to read it, but you have time to listen to old John. So a couple things here. First up, one of the things that got leaked, and something I'm going to recommend everybody, they, in their newsletter, They have a contest going on right now. I believe you have, I don't remember what the date was. I would do it today, tomorrow. I would say within the next couple of days. I want to say might be the end of May. May 17th actually stands out in my mind. Anyways, make sure you're signed up for their newsletter. Make sure you go to your email and confirm everything. You'll get a confirmation email. Make sure you do all that because between now and sometime in May or sometime in June, I think, they will be having a release or a giveaway of 10 boxes of the Leviathan 10th edition launch box. And that's 10 boxes. Yeah, there's, like 23,000, 24,000 players that might be participating. How many of those guys actually signed up for the newsletter? I'm going to say, let's say half. I mean, I would say your odds are good. They're not zero. They're not 100. It's somewhere probably less than 1%. But you know what? It's a chance to get one of these 10 boxes. And if it doesn't happen, guys and gals, then just simply afterwards unsubscribe. It's really that easy. That way you don't get flooded with emails unless you like getting flooded with emails, and then go for it. Anyways, it's an opportunity for you to get a free box of Leviathan. And the reason why I say a free box is good, free is good, it's going to be the price tag. So when you're looking at the rules for the contest in their newsletter is that you, if you get the box, its value is approximately 150 pounds. So 100, Great British Britain pounds, whatever, GBP. And 150 translates to 188.49, right? Approximately, right? So this might flux up and down. Now you might be thinking, wow, that's cheaper than the last box that we got. Yeah, that's a little cheaper, but we also have to take into account they have I think that's, you pronounce it arbitrage. It basically, you kind of protect yourself. It's something that you finance and business guys will know. Protect yourself financially. You sell into other markets at a higher price. And based on past percentages of what Games Workshop has done, the Leviathan box, which has more minis in it, right? I think we have 10 more minis in it, and we know that there's going to be other little doodads, and there's a pack of cards in there. So once we add all that stuff in there, plus the fact that we got a variety, just looking at the screen, you can see we got at least 4 massive models. Of course, they're going to increase the price. Now, the price is approximately $245. I've seen some people talking about $230, $250, $245. I think the percentage comes out to about $245. So you should go ahead and start planning ahead of time. So put a couple dollars away out of each paycheck between now and when it releases. Save yourself the trouble. If you do the newsletter, which I'll try to go and put the link down in the description below. That way you can at least go to it. I think I can do it without it linking my information. So that's a good way to get the box. And cheap. All right, so 5 rules in less than 5 minutes. That's what we're going to cover. So the first one that they have, and it's not here on the screen because they haven't shown it yet, at least I don't think they have, is the objective markers. This is kind of a weird one, but also makes sense. Whenever you end your movement, at no time can you end your movement on top of or covering an objective marker, right? It's a weird thing, but we've seen it in other games. I mean, it's kind of a weird, like, okay, that's silly, but some people do it, and it hides the objective marker. And it might be like, well, I'm standing here at the table, I might be able to see the marker. I mean, there's no reason for me to miss it. But when you got a lot of racing thoughts going on, you're trying to figure out what to do next. Should I charge here? Should I shoot here? Where should I be moving? I need these objectives. It's very easy for you to skip over. Yes, you know that there's that objective there, but you skip over it. And it's not cheating. It's just kind of a very clever way of obfuscating the objective, and it kind of can give you an advantage. But by this now, it's a minor rule. Should it be in there? No, but then again, players shouldn't be doing it in the first place. So that's cool. I can dig it. The next one is blast. So before blast marker, or the weapons with the blast, it means they get the explosions and whatnot. They would normally have like a minimum value that you can get depending on how many people are you're fighting, right? Or you're attacking with that weapon. Now you roll the base number of hits or attacks or hits. I'm sorry, base number of hits plus you add an additional one per die. So obviously, like if you're going up, let's say you have a D6 weapon, then against a 20-man squad, then that's going to be an additional +4 hits. So you're going to have between 1 and 10 hits off of that. That's pretty good. That's, I think, a better margin than what we had before. The next one is Overwatch. Overwatch always been a weird state of flux ever since it came out. I want to say around second or third edition. It's been so long, guys. But Overwatch right now, it doesn't happen. It doesn't just have to happen when you are charged, right? So if you've already given Overwatch to somebody, or you activate Overwatch, if the enemy completes their movement within range, you can do the Overwatch. So it's no longer having to wait till a charge phase, which makes sense when you're Overwatching, especially if you're playing like the Infinity game, which Overwatch just gets really absolutely, well, whatever the version is, it gets absolutely ridiculous. But Overwatch, as soon as somebody comes within your line of sight or range, it makes sense that you would open fire. So last edition, you could complete your movement within the Overwatch range, but they had to wait for you to charge, which makes no sense. No sense. So it's a slight improvement, which is another indicator that this is going to be a close combat heavy game this edition. Next one is during the fight phase. When it comes to consolidating, only those models that are in base-to-base contact can actually do the fighting, right? I think that's carried over from last edition. The difference that we're seeing is that whenever you consolidate your 3 inches, which you still get to do at the end of the fight, or whenever during the fight, you have to consolidate towards the available enemy or towards an objective. That sounds common sense, but people abuse the rule. I mean, I shouldn't say abuse the rule. If the rule's ambiguous, if there's that rule, what's written, rule is written, and rule as whatever, I can't remember now. But people would like to go in and kind of spread themselves out and get a little bit more so they can do another multi-charge or do a variety of other things, really kind of skirting the rules. And this way now the fight has to get funneled down instead of spreading out, which makes a lot more sense. So that's another cool effect. It's going to limit some of the shenanigans, especially in tournament play. That's really where you see a lot of these, we'll call them exploits. They're exploiting the available rules. They're not cheating. They're just taking advantage of what's there. So the last one is escape. We'll talk more about battle shock later on. But if your unit suffers battle shock, their objective control number, which every unit has some sort of objective control value, 1, 2, 3, whatnot. If you're subject to battle shock, your objective control drops down to 0, which is not good. And when you're falling back, you're going to be rolling it's called escape. I already forgot. It's escape something. Escape the battle, desperate escape. Let's call it that for now. You're going to roll 1d6 per model, and on a 1 or a 2, they're removed from battle. That means they've lost their will to fight, or they died during all the hail of bolter fire and squiggly vines or whatever it is that the Leviathans are shooting out, and they're just taken off the board. They're gone. Move on. That's kind of cool. It's that right there kind of makes it to where the battles are going to be even a little bit more intense. We're going to be getting rid of models sooner. Not that battle shock and those leadership test type of things, at least falling back and everything, happened a lot. Usually that first engagement, or by the second engagement, from range to close combat, it's over. There's not a lot of falling back, but there's a lot of indications that we're going to be seeing a lot more of this battle shock in use. Maybe not massively, but I would probably say a generous 25% increase in seeing units suffering from battle shock and having to do the desperate escape. That's what I'm calling it, at least. So that's something to be able to take. You're going to want to take into account. So leadership. You're going to want to make sure that those, especially those most vital units, since we are now going to be attaching characters, your HQ models and other characters, to units, or able to attach them to units, or if you have a bubble of some sort that allows leadership rerolls or boost to your leadership, are going to be very vital. So the days of spamming a lot of Uber units might be gone just a little bit, not all, but just a little bit, and you might be being a little bit more tactically minded in the type of units that you take, instead of going for the overwhelming firepower or overwhelming psychic whatever or close combat. You're now probably going to get some support units in there to spread the love. That way you can keep your forces in the fight more often, especially for units or armies like the Tyranids and the Guard and the Tau, where leadership's kind of wonky. Marines, Chaos Marines are probably okay. Orcs, they're stupid, and they're not very, well, I shouldn't say, they're street smart. Let's just go with that. They're street smart. But they still have some issues with their leadership. For now, I have a feeling we're going to see that orcs are like, oh, for every orc over 5, you get +1 leadership or something like that, because they're all like smoking and joking and patting each other in the back and getting riled up and all over the place. You guys know what I'm talking about. Anyways, so that's going to cover it for this episode. It's a little longer than I intended, but shorter than what my average is. So at any rate, we will be covering more of this over the next couple of days. Plus, I just received from Free League Publishing, Coriolis, the latest expansion or the latest of the campaign books, and a variety of other knickknacks and goodies ahead of time, or at least ahead of my time that I was expecting to get them. So I'm going to read over them tonight, and we'll probably do a video covering that on Friday. Tomorrow we'll be covering more Warhammer 40,000 stuff. I know it's been a while since I've covered Warhammer 40,000, but we're going to go ahead and dive into it because it's right around the corner. We still got a Shatterpoint video. I'm going to wait a little bit longer for Shatterpoint, just so we can get closer to the release date. That way we can do a couple refresher videos, probably like a series, like 10-minute videos, to where we can just cover a small bit of rules to get everybody nice and fresh and get the hype back up. And then we can dive in, and we will be covering a couple Kickstarter board games, hopefully in the next couple weeks. Anyways, you guys have yourself a wonderful evening, and I will chat with you guys tomorrow. See ya.